Hello humanity. Today I wanted to share a bit of a philosophical idea. I am a kind of hobby philosopher. This might fall a lot. Okay, hello humanity. I'm just on the way back from the gym, and today I wanted to share an original philosophical idea. I don't really know what the purpose of this is. It has no motive, but it is an original thought, and that's something you can say you've heard today, even if you're one of only 5 people that hear this video. This is an original thought that I know that I haven't read anywhere, or I've definitely come up with it and deduced it myself. So you heard it here first. On the 25th of October 2022. So the title of the video is "Everything is about equilibrium." So to explain that, everything I've studied, and I've got a background in, I've got a BSc, first class degree in chemistry, I'm a member of Mensa, I've got a analytical scientific background, maybe mind, for my sins. And all the things I've studied, heard, read, it's just dawned on me, and in a bit of an epiphany there, that everything is about equilibrium. Everything humans study, everything humans do, is simply all about neutralizing things around the equilibrium. Now let me give some examples. So, chemistry. The equations are all about equilibrium. So they're all about chemicals that interact to neutralize each other to form a balance and an equilibrium. If you study chemistry, you'll know that that's the case. Physics, the law of equal and opposite attraction, the law of equal and opposite forces and things like that, and Newton's laws, where every action has a reaction to an equal degree. That is equilibrium, isn't it? Maths is all about manipulations and neutralizations around the equal sign. Anyone who studies maths will know that. It's all about the end result being an equilibrium. That's why the equal sign is in every mathematical equation, because things balance in the end. And the answer is when you have the balance and neutralization around the equal sign. So for any scientists, mathematicians there's an example of how that whole subject can be summarized in one sentence, that everything is about equilibrium, ultimately. And every happening and phenomenon is all about a natural neutralization and balance based around the equilibrium. And that is it. Let's apply this to biology. Again, it's all about equilibrium. Humans act, they need more oxygen, they breathe more. You know, if they act too much, they need rest, so they rest to rebalance and reequate the resources that they have. Even human mood, you know, you do too much, you get tired, you get grumpy, you have a rest, then you feel like doing something. It's all about equal and opposite interactions around an equilibrium, some sort of equilibrium. Now, even business, because I do, everybody has to do business to some degree, even if you're just an employee, because you need income in life. And that is all about equilibrium. So if supply and demand chains, business is all about supply and demand, which is an equilibrium. The more supply, the equal effect it has on the demand, and well, the price is like the equilibrium, if you like, but the more demand, the more supply needed. The more supply, the less strong the demand, because everyone is supplied and the price goes down and things like that. But it is perfectly balanced around about the equal sign. Even small daily tasks, just to make it relevant to the average person. You look in the fridge, you have no milk, you need milk. Your action of walking to the shop is just about balancing the equilibrium of that item. You have no milk, I've looked in the fridge, there is no milk, I need to walk to the shop to restock the fridge so that we have milk, because I need milk. So I think that illustrates the point there, many different examples. football match, for any sports fans, they score, we need to work harder so that we score, so that it's equal. If they work harder than us, they get a better result than us. They score more goals than they win. That's about, like, so it's 1-0. That's kind of an equilibrium sign. If they work harder and do better, and you know, then they get one more above the equal sign than we do. If we work harder and score to equal the result, then we've neutralized it. Everything is just based around this equilibrium and equal sign, and everything either side is just sort of basically arbitrarily but naturally operating according to like these laws that search for neutralization and balance ultimately. So what do we do with this then? Why am I saying this? Why is this even relevant? So what? Well, first of all, for me, it's just nice to know it's true, and to see it and have that epiphany this morning that everything is about equilibrium, not just science, not just chemistry, not just maths, everything. That was quite an interesting notion to realise this morning. So what? Well, first of all, nice to know it, but second of all, could you look for opportunities to apply this knowledge in anything you do? So if you've had a busy day and you're tired, you can say, right, I know that if I keep pushing this, I'm going to burn one end too much and the equilibrium's out of whack, so I need to taper this, do the opposite to balance the equation, so that tomorrow I'm ready to go again with full energy and mood. Or in business, you know, if you feel one side of the business is sagging a bit, you know that you have to counter it with the other side. If you see demand, I mean, everybody does this anyway, but if you know this, it's first of all satisfies curiosity, but second of all, it's just you can maybe look for it a bit more than you already are and understand things that are not going right when you apply this thinking. There's no motive for this, so I'm not doing this so that you can learn a secret. It's just something that I've come across, and my analytical habits are sort of developing sort of conclusions in the end. So one more thing about this, which is very philosophical, kind of redundant in a way because it's speculative, but there's one thing that I think about this that's really interesting when it comes down to it, is if you equalize things and things become neutral, then in a way, if you focus the resolution outward and look at it from a distance, then there is nothing there. So let me put this in context. Just a bit of an unrelated example, but when you see an old TV screen that have the three, like, is it the red, green, and I don't know if it's red, green, and blue or white or something, but they've got the little components of each cell. But when you look back, you see the picture. That just gives you the illustration of when you look at something at a close degree, it can be something, and then when you look at it from a further back degree, you realise, actually it's this. So the thing that you deduce it is different depending on what resolution or what focus you look at it through, or what lens you look at it through. So everything you know about life itself, the earth, humanity, the universe, everything, if we just imagine that we're only looking at that through a certain resolution or in a certain focus, and that it only seems like that it is because of the focus that we're looking at it through. Imagine if everything is about equilibrium and everything simply neutralizes. So really everything is just zero. 1 minus 1 equals 0. You could look at that equation and say, this is 1 minus 1 equals 0. Or you could just look back and say, hang on, there's no point in even saying 1 minus 1 equals 0. That is just nothing. There's nothing there. Then you imagine that everything you know about life, if you zoom out, and then even the universe becomes small, and you just zoom out even further in thinking, not in distance, then there is actually nothing there. Because if the equation is just a neutralization equation about an equilibrium, then if you focus out, nothing is there. So what I'm saying here is probably beyond relevance in human what we're operating within, the world, the universe, your daily life, there is nothing there. It is actually nothing. It's just wisps of wind that counter each other. And if you focus out, they're actually nothing because they counter each other and balance each other. So everything you know and interact with and do and experience is just random wiggling about an equal sign, which is basically the only law it's following is to neutralize something else, to balance to a zero. We understand it as being stuff because we contextualize it with our human evolved brain and contexts. But if you zoom out and expand your thinking, everything is just following a law that makes it nothing. So if you look out from a further distance, there's nothing there. There's nothing to note. So this philosophy could be called everything is about equilibrium, or it could be called the philosophy of nothingness. But it's kind of a deadening, apathetic philosophy which doesn't inspire. It's not meant to inspire. It's not meant to make you go away and say, "Way, I'm gonna use this and my life's gonna be better" and all this. But that's the point, though. Maybe the philosophies, religions, or whatever that do that, they're doing something to give an inspiration or a motivation to do something else that just obeys an equilibrium balance for a purpose, which is just the same stuff. It's just wiggling around equilibrium with no control over it because it just follows the laws of neutrality and balance anyway, which are just to make it nothing in the end. So this philosophy maybe is the true one because it doesn't have that fake sort of push in a direction. It is just an acknowledgement that everything is nothing and that, you know, that's it. Now, this wouldn't lead to like a revolution where everyone says let's do great things and stuff. This is more likely, if people do understand this eventually, that if society adopts this is more likely to lead to an apathetic society and almost like a, well, this is all pointless type of thinking, which sounds like manic depressive and stuff like that, but it's not. That's not the point. The point is it's when you get to the point that everything's just following these laws of balance, then it kind of makes everything seem like nothing, and then you go along with it like you do on a roller coaster. You just say, okay, it's going up, it's going down, I've got no say in this. Just maybe we could look at it and say, let's just enjoy the ride, but who knows. I mean, we can go on forever with these examples. Earthquakes build up a tension. The earthquake itself is to release the tension and bring it back to a neutral balance. Wars, human wars, same thing again. A bit like tectonic plates, countries rub up against each other, civilizations rub up against each other. Friction develops, eventually wants to resolve by means of war to bring it all back to a balanced equilibrium. You know, everything is just happening like that, which is why these one-sided philosophies aren't true. They might work, actually. One-sided philosophies like, let's have peace because we all want war, because we want to live in perfect harmony forever and want to be happy forever. That's going to make a movement to some degree, but overall that movement is still just aspiring to counter another movement, which might have been a period of war, which is just performing an overall balance when you take the resolution backwards. So, yeah. Maybe the point is, the philosophy that's true is the one that nobody's interested in because it's apathetic. Whereas the ones that are pushing towards a certain direction interest people because they have a gravity about them. But I've always been interested in finding out what's true, just for my own curiosity rather than trying to achieve a certain motive necessarily. So yeah, this is it. This is my video. I'm putting this out there into the world because it's just something epiphany I had. Nobody might listen to this, so if you're the 5 people that listen to it, I hope you've enjoyed it. But the point is, I've come to the conclusion that everything in life is just wiggles about an equilibrium that's following natural laws of neutralization and balance that nobody has a say in. They're going to go that way anyway. If you delay it, it just builds it up higher, then it still does it in the end. And it's just interesting to know that that is what it is. Everything, every subject we study, everything we do, everything is about equilibrium. And then a further adaptation of this philosophy is if you look at it from a different resolution, probably outside of the relevant human thinking. So most people say, what's he talking about? This, I don't get what he's saying. I don't think it's relevant. But if you do try and get your mind to understand outside of the realm of even the universe, you start to look and say, actually, if everything's just neutralizing each other all the time, then yes, it is active at the moment because it's kind of balancing. But if you take it up from a different resolution, it still equals 0. So 1 minus 1 equals 0. You look at the equation, you think, oh, but 1 minus, you think there's a 1 there and a minus 1 there doing something. But there is if you look back to the wider picture, it's a 0. There's nothing there. That is nothing. So it could be that everything that you know of is just nothing. And we're just watching the wind, one form of the wind counter the other, which overall, if you zoom out, it's nothing because both of them neutralize each other. So what can you do with this? Like I said, you can stand back, enjoy the ride, but maybe even just laugh in your mind's eye when you see things happen. I think that's just balancing itself out. Or, maybe we could hack life with it. Maybe you could look at things, apply this insight, and then say, oh, I know how I'm going to behave here, or react to this, or implement this, because I know that it's ultimately going to search for balance and neutrality. So if I can ride that wave rather than do things that are going to be contrasting to it, I will be riding the crest of a wave. Everybody already does this anyway, but if you know it, maybe you could apply it more, maybe not. But let's try. For example, if somebody says, I want to achieve something, then that's a target, but they need to work equally as hard to achieve it. So the balance is still going to come into line. And then the work ethic and application and things like that are going to be the action required to get to that thing. But here's an example of not following this philosophy. You set a goal there, you don't do the work required, you're in denial, you don't apply this law that things need to equalize to happen, sort of thing, to neutralize. So you don't do the work required to get to that, then you're not going to get there, are you? It's impossible. If you say, hang on, things need to equal, you need to do the equal work required to get to the place. Or you need to lower the goal, whatever you want, but you're going to be happier with the aligned sort of goals and activities, because you're going to be more balanced in mood, and balance is kind of good because it's natural. Right, okay, that's it. I'm off to a meeting, but everything is equilibrium. Everything is about equilibrium. Everything that happens is just movements about neutralizing and balance around an equal sign. And possibly that means everything is just nothing when you look at it from a wider perspective.